Welcome to the podcast. We're here to bring you higher knowledge and deeper conversations so that you can fully live as the sovereign soul that you are here to be. Thank you to everyone who joins us live here on Mondays and to those who are taking the time to listen to the replay. Your presence here means that you are choosing awareness. You are choosing growth and, of course, truth in a world that is often pulling everyone in an opposite direction towards distraction. So we ask that you share this information with others who are ready to hear it, because when we share knowledge, consciousness expands. And the more people remember their power, the more we collectively rise. Together, we are here creating an amazing community of awakened men and women who are choosing courage and sovereignty. Tonight, we are joined by Laura Chambers for an important conversation about the harm caused by smart meters and the impact it has on our communities. So for those who have no idea what a smart meter is, I mean, some people live, they lease a condo or lease a apartment, in the city, and they have no idea what a smart meter is. So I thought that I'd clarify what that is. So according to, I'm just going to pull up here, the government website. There you go. Okay, it reads, smart meters are wireless devices that transmit information using radio frequency electromagnetic fields, EMF, signals to let utility companies know how much water, gas, electricity a household or business is using. It measures and records electricity, gas, or water consumption in real time and automatically sends this information to utility companies. Then it states they provide the data for billing and help consumers monitor their energy usage more effectively, promoting energy efficiency. Of course, that's how they are selling the idea, right, of smart meters. That's how it's sold to the unsuspecting public domain. So Laura is sharing her insights on smart meter surveillance and data privacy concerns, documented fire hazards, safety risks, potential health issues, etc., and then practical ways you can protect your home. And of course, she's here to share a very powerful story about a woman from Olds, Alberta, involving municipal government overreach and her family not having water in their home for, I think it was over 6 months or so. I think everyone here is familiar with who Laura Chambers is and familiar with her work. You may recognize her from her powerful deputation to Calgary City Council in 2024, which she received over 23,000 views on our Life Force Nation YouTube channel. And she's also shared her concerns regarding smart meters catch fire and cause harmful radiation. And I uploaded that as well onto our Life Force Nation YouTube channel. Laura, welcome to our Life Force Nation podcast. We'd love for you to share your story on how you got started, looking into the smart meter issue and how it's kind of just sparked this passion inside of you.
Thanks, Karen. I was introduced to the concept of smart meters and the concerns that a lot of people have about it at your event here in Calgary last September. It was my second Life Force event. The first one was truly life-changing, but that's a whole different story. But last September, I happened to meet a young woman who had attended Karen's event that weekend as a last-ditch hope. She had exhausted every other thing that she could think of looking for assistance. Young woman, married with children. Her disabled mother-in-law lived with the family. And 3 months prior, this town of Olds had let citizens know that they were rolling out smart water meters. And as it happened, they've split the town of it's roughly 1,000 or 10,150 people that live in Olds. They split it into different segments, and her home just happened to be in the first part of the town that they were rolling these meters out into. Well, she's a very awake person. She knew that there were some health concerns, so she started doing research and found that it was much more dangerous than what the municipal government in Olds was trying to let people think. And in addition to that, her daughter already had some neurological issues. So she said, nope, I don't want a smart meter. Her family, along with about 100 other of the 650 families that were about to get a new smart meter, said no. Over the next 3 months, the mayor of Olds and his council ramped up the pressure to the point that they were sending peace officers house to house to bully and threaten any family that had refused a smart meter. And over that time, every family except for this one finally caved in and allowed a smart meter to be installed on their home. But she and her family continued to say no. Do you know that the mayor actually came out to watch them turn off her water? Now, that tells me this man must be, at heart, a real bully. But they still said no, no smart meters, and they lived from August of last year to the end of February this year without water in their home. Can you imagine? See, I can. I grew up on a farm that didn't have running water, and I know the additional work and stress that that puts on a household. But bless her little cotton paws, they never caved. They never changed their mind. She started off, she went to the newspaper in Olds, who said, yeah, no, sorry, can't help you. No, we rely too much on the advertising money from the town. Then she approached the lawyer in town who said, yeah, no, sorry, they're one of my customers. I can't help you. So then she got a hold of the MLA for Olds, who said, yeah, no, nothing I can do. She tried and tried and tried and tried and tried to get a hold of Dan Williams, the MLA that looks after municipalities. He never so much as returned an email or a phone call. And she was at the end of her rope when she came to the Life Force Canada event in Calgary. And for some reason that I'm not sure that I can explain, her story just sort of, well, to be honest, it pissed me off. I was so angry at the thought that a mayor in a town of 10,000 people thought he had the right to deny water to a family. Water's more important than food when it comes to survival. So that sort of started me down the path that I chose. Like, we have got so many things going on in this country right now that we can't individually attack each particular issue. You pretty much have to choose your battles, and this one is my current battle. It's affecting pretty much everybody. It's not just the big towns and cities that are installing them, it's small towns. And for the most part, I would say that 80% of the time, residents aren't being given a choice. Now, there have been a few smaller towns that have given people the choice and said, okay, no, you can keep your analog. Unfortunately, we're going to have to charge you an additional 20, 30, $40 a month for somebody to come out and physically read your meter, but you can have that choice. But I would say that in the research that I've done over the last month or so, at least 80% of municipalities are not giving their citizens a choice. And therein lies the problem. We pay them, people. We pay them. It's our tax dollar that pays their salary. We elect them. They're supposed to be representing our concerns. So when I say I'm pissed off, I mean it. And it's an issue that's going to affect all of us. So I'm here tonight hoping to give you enough information to move forward that you start talking about it and you start fighting back against it. Because I really, truly, truly, truly believe that if we've got a chance of turning the tide in this country, it starts at municipal level, where we have boots on the ground and we actually have a little bit of power. So that's my introduction to you. I am not a scientist. I am not a medical professional. I am almost great grandmother. I'm going to be a great grandmother in June. Uh,
Yay.
I am retired with a little bit of extra time on my hands, and I've got the desire to fight back. And I think that's all of us. That's all we need is the desire to fight back. So I'm here tonight hoping that I can galvanize you into doing that, fighting back.
Thank you, Laura. Susan just shared what SMART means. She said they just put them on our homes in Ontario in 2010 without their consent. It took her almost 10 years to figure out how to have the secret military arsenal residential technology. Yes.
That makes sense. Thank you to whoever shared that because they're selling it as a technological wonder that's going to enhance our life by giving us real-time readings on our water usage, our gas. Who needs a real-time usage? Do we really need to know every day how much water we've used? No. They're trying to tell us that we do. Like I live in Calgary, and right now we are again under water restrictions. Now, at the moment, it is probably necessary that all of us do our best to conserve some water while they clean up the last municipal administration's mistakes and fix our water infrastructure. But overall, we do not have a shortage of water. But they are molding us into believing that we do. So when they tell us, oh, sorry, you can only have 300 gallons of water today. And at that 300-gallon mark, they'll shut your water off. And do not believe that they won't, because they'll have the power and they will do it. Now, I just realized that that makes me sound like some sort of a conspiracy nut, and I will wear that hat proudly.
Conspiracy realist. I remember when was at the conference, and when I asked her to speak about her story, I was so impressed with all the members who were approaching her after to really offer support. I know you, Karen, you were sitting at her table. That's how you found out about the water meter issue, right? That she was having.
I did. It was
Sorry.
really, really wonderful that, again, just how our members really rallied around and were there to support her. And it kind of had special importance to me because I had grown up on a farm in the town just next to Ols. So, yeah, so I was really interested to know what was going on in that town. Like I said, it was really wonderful to meet Kat and see just how, as I say, our members just really embraced her and were there to support her in whatever way we could.
Thank you, Karen.
Fortunately, I don't think any of us had an answer for her at the time,
That's
but
true.
she certainly opened a lot of minds to what was going on.
Absolutely, she did. Now, I know there
Yeah.
are a number of points that you wanted to cover. So I would like to start with, why do you think the government is pushing smart meters?
Well, they just want us to be happy.
Exactly.
It's all about control. It's all about being about knowing everything we do every minute of the day. And the smart meters are just the tip of the iceberg. But that will be what allows them to control our usage of the things that we need every day. Like we need electricity. Whether we believe we can do without it or not, we can't. We need it. That's how our lives are set up. We need water. We need the gas that heats our homes. And all three of those services are in line for smart meters so that they can control it. There is no altruistic reason for this. It's all about control.
So true. Follow the money, right?
Absolutely.
Hmm.
And my only experience so far has been at the municipal level. And it's baffling to me how closed-minded mayors and their council people are. No matter what information you put in front of them to show them these are dangerous, somebody higher up has told them that they're just fine. So they will believe that they're just fine. They're a fire hazard to start with. They contain a lithium ion battery, the same as EV vehicles. And how many stories have we heard just in the last couple of years of electric cars, electric buses spontaneously catching fire? It's everyday news these days. I think the most recent one I heard was somewhere down in the States, and it was a school bus load of kids. The bus caught on fire. And it's the same principle, but worse, because these smart meters are connected to the copper wiring in your home, and copper is a heat conductor. So it amps up the possibility of fire. They believe that private home ownership is, something that we should not have. And there's two things that they're going to use to make sure that we can't afford our homes anymore. And one is insurance. Can you imagine what's going to happen to our house insurance after enough of our homes catch on fire because of smart meters? I know my parents lived in Penticton years ago, up in the hills where they had no fire hydrants. And the fires up there got to the point that they could no longer get fire insurance on their homes. It became too expensive for insurance companies to offer. And that's what's going to happen with smart meters. So they're a fire hazard. There are billing issues. In my research, I have come across dozens and dozens of stories from people who got a smart meter and their very first next electric bill or water bill or gas bill was 10 times higher than what they had been getting.
That's crazy.
And it takes months to get that sorted out, and you still get left on the hook for the interest that accumulates on it. One woman told a story about how her electricity usually ran about $300 a month, and her first bill after getting a smart meter in was over $3,000. And after fighting with the provider for months, they finally agreed to take $50 a month off her upcoming invoices until they had leveled the field. Wow. So there's that. But the scariest thing of all are the health concerns. Oh, sorry. Let me go back to the fire issue here just for a moment. I found a really interesting article just the other day that Sask Power is going to be removing 105,000 smart meters because of the fires that they've caused. And because of that, because of what Sask Power is doing, the city of Medicine Hat has stopped their switchover until they can do further research into the fire concern. So there has been some movement. There have been a few towns across Canada that have come to their senses and said, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to look into it before we do. But like I said, I think it's well over 80% that are just charging ahead without. But then when we start looking at health concerns, of course, you're not going to get anything out of Health Canada that resembles any form of the truth. But there's been a lot of independent research done over the last little while. One of the things, and again, I'm not a scientist, so I hope I'm telling the truth on this. One of the things that I found out is that when your provider says, oh, well, those smart meters, they only connect for approximately 45 seconds a day because it's like your cell. It shakes hands with the tower. And that's what allows the Wi-Fi to connect so that the provider is getting a reading. So it really is only going to be going off for about 45 seconds a day. And that's true. But how many smart meters have you got within a 1 mile radius of your own? Like I live in a townhouse center, and 2 doors down in the row of townhouses on a wall is a whole line of meters. And every one of those meters is activated for approximately 45 seconds a day. But if I think about all the meters within a mile of me, it's probably going to produce throughout the day somewhere in the neighborhood of 190,000 pulses. It's like your body is being hit by a jackhammer. And every one of those pulses of radiation does damage to the cell walls in your body. I don't know about you, but that scares me. And some of the most common side effects are interrupted sleep, that your brain doesn't get to where it needs to for REM sleep. Well, we know how many different health problems are created by lack of sleep. Headaches, violent headaches, an increase in migraines for people that suffer from migraines. Um, I've got this all written down here. I am drowning in information, people. Let me find my notes here. Pressure headaches, tinnitus, the ringing in your ears. Now, I've suffered from tinnitus since I was 15 years old because of ear surgery. And I can tell you that while it's not a disability, it is annoying as hell when one ear just rings constantly. A sudden fatigue syndrome. And there's even been reports of pets acting differently in a house after a smart meter's been installed, where they're constantly on alert. So watch for different behavior in your pets. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's been studies that show an increase in brain cancer. There's been studies that have shown thyroid issues, infertility issues, you name it. Now, the government's going to say to you, well, yes, but your cell phone emits that same kind of radiation. Your smart appliances, your smart TV, your smart fridge, etc. They all emit EMF too, and that's true, but not at the same level that these smart meters do. I'm on my grandkids all the time about not using wireless earphones, about not carrying,
Hey, good.
yay, about not carrying their cell phone with them everywhere they go, about leaving it in another room when they go to bed. I don't know if I'm making any difference or not, but I yip about it all the time. So it's not the only source that we're having to deal with, but it is the strongest source, and it's the one that's creating the most health hazards. Now, in terms of what you can do to protect yourself, honestly, I've read reports that if you wrap your smart meter in lead, in a lead case, that it will prevent the pulses from coming into your home. I've read that a copper casing will do the same. I mean, a whole new industry has sprung up in the last couple of years, different devices that you can wear or have in your home that help deflect those pulses. But I can't confidently speak to any of them actually having any success. I have a friend that wears a device around her neck every day, all day, but she can't actually tell me if it's working. So I don't know what there is out there to protect ourselves other than just fighting back and saying no.
Now, what would be the cost? I mean, you've done so much research, Laura, and I really, really appreciate this. What is the cost associated with switching the analog meters to smart meters and then the ongoing increased maintenance?
Well, I wasn't able to actually get a dollar value per. And all my research would give me was that smart meters on the average cost approximately 50% more than an analog. And the Governor General of Ontario has gone on record as saying the analog meters are good for up to 40 years and actually require very little maintenance. Whereas the new smart meters, you're lucky to get 10 years out of them, and they're going to require, because they're technology, they're going to require ongoing maintenance. So there is absolutely no cost savings. Do not let your municipality tell you they're doing it to save money, because in the end, it's going to cost them a whole bunch more.
Do you think that awareness is growing around this issue? Like, do you see the public fighting back? I mean, you're talking about we need to fight back, but do you see that the consciousness is rising?
Yes, I
Okay.
do. I do. In fact, I mean, I hate to refer to Facebook as any sort of legitimate source, but I can tell you that just in the last 6 months or so, there have been multiple pages and groups started to fight back against smart meters all around North America. Now, I haven't looked into Europe or other countries, but the US is on board with this as well. And in fact, Robert Kennedy Jr. has already started government research into the dangers of it. And I know he's an American, but I think he's a pretty smart guy
Absolutely. Yes.
and probably cares more about our health than Mr. Carney.
Oh, exactly. Christine, you have been involved in Cal Washington's Empower for quite some time now. And Christine is also a private member as well. Christine, I'd love to hear your feedback and what sharing your thoughts on what we can do to remediate the effects of EMF radiation and protect ourselves as well.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I joined Cal Washington's In Power movement because I was looking for a way to try and fight back against a few agendas. So Cal Washington, I think probably most of the Life Force members are aware of him and his work, but he learned a lot about how the law works because of his own personal experiences and copious amounts of studying. And when he was in contact with Josh Del Sol, Josh was learning more about the harms of these smart meters and approached Cal, like, is there anything we can do about this? And Cal took a look at it and he said, they're rolling this out as a commercial offer, like under merchant law. And because it's an offer, you can make a counter offer. So that's how these notices of liability started. And they have identified 4 main agendas. There's the smart meters, there's wireless radiation like the 5G and other types of wireless radiation. There's the geoengineering and the vaccine agenda. They decided to focus on these agendas. There's others like fluoridation, but it's not as global as these other ones. So they've honed in on these 4 agendas and they're writing up these notices that are specific for each country. And it's basically a counteroffer. So when they say, oh, come and get your vaccine, you'll either not get fired or you'll get a burger, that's an offer. And you can make a counteroffer. These smart meters are being rolled out saying, oh, you'll have better energy, you'll have better data on how you use your energy, you'll be able to save energy. That's an offer. So you can make a counteroffer. And the offer is usually done based on tacit agreement. I remember back in maybe 2012, I got an email from NMAC saying, oh, we're going to put out these smart meters and it'll be great and it'll save this money and it'll blah, blah, blah. And the email actually said, if you do not respond by such and such a date, we will consider that you have consented, and after that, you will have no ability to revoke consent. So I put together what research I could find at the time and sent it to them. I got it to them under the wire. And one day when I was out in my backyard, I noticed that my neighbor had a new smart meter. I still had my analog. And then it was 2024 or 2025, somebody came to my door. So he drove up a van, he parked in the cul-de-sac, he came only to my door and he said, oh, we're installing these new smart meters, blah, blah, blah. And I said, oh, no, thank you, I'm not interested. And he got back in his van and left. And the next time I was passing by my neighbor's place, he had an upgraded smart meter and I still had my analog. So I think that's because I didn't ever give tacit consent, and they have to honor that. But the notices of liability that we're sending out, it's basically, okay, we have your offer to get this smart meter, but it looks like it's a worldwide agenda. It looks like it's going to allow constant surveillance. It's going to invade privacy. It poses health risks due to the wireless radiation and also the risk of fire, and it's got all these other risks. And so if you cannot prove to me, to my satisfaction, that it's not true, and it has to be in written form, signed under threat of perjury with adequate evidence to support your claim that all these harms aren't happening, then, and if you do install a meter in my home or anywhere near me, and you can define what you consider near. Some would say, well, anywhere in Canada is too near to me. Then I'm going to charge you a daily fee for having it on my property or near me without my consent. And the daily fee is anywhere from $10,000 a day to $60,000 a day. And we send out the notice, and then a notice of fault and a notice of default and a final notice, and then they're put in default. They can't dispute the contract anymore. And then we start billing them. And every 30 days, we can send a bill. It doesn't have to be on the clock, but whenever you send it out, it calculates how many days since the last bill and calculates the current fee. And the bills become bills of exchange that, like, according to the Bills of Exchange Act in Canada. And so we're amassing these bills of exchange, which Cal's group is currently using as a backing for a new type of cryptocurrency when people don't want to get the digital ID tied to their bank account and their central bank digital currency. Their goal is to create an alternate currency so that we can use that to support the people that aren't going along with all the agendas. But it's not just that, it's also a spiritual contract. The very first preamble says, is from the book of Daniel, this matter is by decree of the watchers and the demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men and giveth it to whomever he will and setteth up over it the basest of men. So one thing Cal has said in several of his podcasts that he's done is that when he and his friends were first trying to figure out this legal system, they would send different forms in or documents, and nothing had any teeth. And it was when they used the exact wording and lettering from the 1611 King James Bible that suddenly they started seeing that their documents were having some effect. And that is because the man who considers himself the monarch has sworn an oath on the 1611 King James Bible, swearing to uphold the laws in the Bible and also the common law. So it's also a spiritual document as well. And Cal believes that we're amassing evidence in the courts of heaven that there's going to be some action taken on them on the spiritual realm.
Thank you, Christine. That would be great if you can share the Empower URL website in the chat later on. That would be lovely.
Yeah.
Appreciate all you do.
So just to give people kind of an idea of what the process would be, if you're going to send an NOL, you need 2 witnesses and you need to all be together. And for the first 3 notices that you send out, they have to be notarized. If you're sending within the province of Alberta, a commissioner of oaths can do it, but otherwise, if you're sending outside of your province, it has to be a notary. It's getting a little hard to find notaries, so you're going to have to look, and you might not be able to go to the first one the second time. You might have to get a different notary each time. And so after that, you can just get together with yourself and your two witnesses and start sending out the bills without having them notarized. You also have to join Empower, and I think it's $150 US annually, but that also gives you a lot of educational content about the law merchant, which is what we're sending out these notices under. And it's just like a wealth of information. So yes, I will put the URL in.
Thank you, Christine. Appreciate everything you do.
Thank you. I appreciate you too.
Okay, thank you. Now, when millions of homes have smart meters, they generate huge amounts of data about energy consumption, and that information is stored and processed in huge computing systems known as data centers. So Laura, she sent me an email, and I had no idea. I knew we had data centers here in Alberta and close to Calgary area, but I didn't know that we had 18 data centers, and they're building 3 more just around Calgary. If people knew this is going on, because a lot of people have no idea that they're even building these data centers. For example, the Beacon Chestermere, since you sent me that email, Laura, I've been doing my own research, and I just found this here. It's the Beacon Chestermere Data Center is a proposed 4 billion AI-driven facility set to be developed within Chestermere, Alberta. And this project aims to establish a state-of-the-art AI hub supporting hyperscale cloud computing and artificial intelligence applications. The AI data centers are enormous facilities, so each facility itself is over 100 acres or more. They take up a huge amount of land space, and they have water access. They need water access for cooling, etc. And copper now, how many of you know that copper has now increased by 30% in price, and it's rising up in price because they're running out of copper to fund these data centers worldwide. Laura, I'd love to hear your thoughts on all this.
Well, I would first of all ask you to send me that article, a link to that article by email, because I belong to the Chestermere Facebook page and I'm going to have something to say. Yeah, there are 18 data centers currently in Calgary, and I had absolutely no idea. And what makes it so concerning right now is that we are under water restrictions. So I started doing some digging. It's a company called E-Structure that are building the 3 new ones. There's 2 in Rocky View County and 1 in Foothills Industrial that are going in. And I had come across an article that said that one data center can take up to 5 million gallons of water a day. So I
Exactly.
started digging into that. And apparently, the data centers that we currently have here are something, they have something called high density cooling, which apparently takes less water than the big ones. These ones only require 300,000 to 500,000 gallons of water a day. So my question to the city of Calgary might be, are they being restricted too? We're not supposed to flush our toilets, but these guys are using 18 times 3 to 500,000 gallons of water a day. Now, the scary thing is the one that you're talking about in Chestermere sounds very much like the one that just got shot down outside of Olds. Praise God, because that one would have taken more electricity than the entire city of Edmonton. And we're already being told that our ability to provide electricity is sometimes a little iffy when we're all running our dishwashers or our appliances. So it goes beyond just how much water it's using. Now let's talk about what happens to the water after they're done with it. You would think that they could just circulate this water through their systems, but they don't. It goes through and then it goes back down into our drinking water. It gets returned to the tank, so to speak, filled with heavy metals and sludge and toxins. And the one that doesn't go back into our drinking water gets let go into agricultural land. So that's no better. They're poisoning us. They're taking away our right to water, which is a whole other story. Um, Karen Hanna sent me a really interesting link to an article that talked about whether or not the government owns our water. And no, they don't. Our municipal governments are supposed to be the paid administrators for the distribution of the water that we own. It's our right to have water. But they've taken it over and they're treating it like a commodity that they can sell to us because they own it. And that's not true. These data centers are the reason they're putting in the smart meters, in my opinion. They would rather give the water to a data center because that's where the money is than to allow us to have access to as much water as we want or need in a day.
Is your community on a water restriction right now?
The whole city is.
Oh,
Karen. The whole city is, yes.
that's so funny. I don't have a TV. I don't watch the news. It's like I've been taking 30-minute showers. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, then I encourage you to go ahead and do that.
Thank you. Yes, yeah. To me, water is abundant.
Well, and the fact that they're trying to persuade us that we have a shortage.
Oh, it's so
Right
crazy.
next door to the Rocky Mountains, for God's sake.
Absolutely.
The fact that some people are believing it is even more baffling.
Yes.
But yeah, I have come to the conclusion after doing all this research that everything is sort of falling in line with the World Economic Forum's
Yes.
Agenda 2030 and Mark Carney's absolute belief in that ideology. And, we've got our smart meters, which if you follow the money, it takes us to the data centers, which if you follow the money, it all goes up to the elites, right?
And Carney is just a puppet. He's
Oh,
got
yeah.
his manual and he's got the script. They all have the script. All politicians have the script because it's a whole depopulation agenda. And that's one of the reasons why I'm leaving Canada.
And he can't give a good speech even with a script. So
No, exactly. Yes. Another reason to leave Alberta, Canada. Absolutely.
the only thing that keeps me here are my grandkids.
Yeah, I
And
totally.
that's what scares me the most. What's coming at my age, I'm only going to see the beginning of it. It's my grandkids that are going to have to live with it.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Laura. Appreciate you. Karen, you have three very important documents to share in the chat with us on what our members and listeners can do to also halt the forced installation of smart meter, water meters, etc. I know Christine has talked about Empower, but there's also another opportunity that we can use. And Karen, I'd love for you to share.
Thank you, Karen. I just want to touch on, first of all, my first exposure to smart meters was in after watching and purchasing the film Take Back Your Power. And I noticed that Christina had put something in the chat that Josh, who created that film, was a friend of hers. So anyway, like I say, that's what opened my eyes. And that film came out in 2013, I think. So if you haven't watched it, maybe grab a copy of it. What I'm going to put into the chat actually is just a resource list of some of the things that we've talked about tonight. I did come across quite a bit of stuff online by Jane Scharf in Ontario. She has a Facebook group and she's also educating on putting together a grand jury to deal with some of these issues, whether it's smart meters or other things that are going on in our country. So anyway, like I said, I'm going to put a PDF in the chat with some links that you can look at. We've got 3 notices that were created by the group that Jane works with. What I did is I just took them and I edited them, slightly to use language that was more appropriate for what we're doing. And they're letters that you could send to people in your area, provincial government, the utility provider. If anyone wants more information, then just get a hold of us and we'll certainly send you those Word docs so that you can send them off.
I can actually add them in the newsletter as well. I trust everyone here reads the newsletter every week because there's so much important information in those newsletters. Thanks, Karen. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, I'm just going to hand it over to Esther.
Thanks, Karen. The first question from Denise was answered because you talked about the In Power movement in the NOLs, and Christine did such a good job with that. So we'll move on to the next one. And we may or may not get to all of the questions. I'll do my best. Christina asked, do you have to be the owner of a house to make a cause against it or send a notice of liability if the power is not in a renter's name? And she's asked a subsequent question later around the same issue. So let me just get to that too. Do you have to be the owner of the property or have electricity in your name to fight against it as a tenant? And I think that's a question for Laura. Yes.
I actually came across an article on that exact topic, and I'm struggling to remember what province, because I'll bet you anything this varies from province to province. But yes, it was the homeowner that made the decision, that it was the homeowner who was given the decision-making powers. Apparently, and that happened in Olds as well. They installed them in rental properties with no problem whatsoever because the homeowner didn't even know about it. And the tenant had no power to say no.
So I guess then we need to also investigate that in our own provinces and just do some digging.
Yes.
And do you have a suggestion of where to start on that?
Oh. You know what I used a lot is ChatGPT. And the only thing with that is that ChatGPT is truly a left-leaning platform. And you often have to ask several times the same question in different verbiage to get an actual, true center answer to anything. So I got a lot of what I was looking for from that. Plus, I just Googled. Now, the biggest problem with anything on the internet anymore is, what do you believe? What do you believe? So I don't know if I sorted through what I found well enough to pick, all the chaff from the wheat, but I did my best.
Great. Thank you, Laura.
Esther, can I just chime in as to the NOL?
Yes, go ahead.
You do not need to be the homeowner to send out NOLs. You just need to be someone who has exposure.
Okay, so that's for the NOL, but not necessarily to do anything about the smart meter itself.
For the NOL smart meter alone, yeah.
Right. So, but
Yeah.
an NOL, but not necessarily the consent to have or not have, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Christine.
The other thing is people need to know, when I first started looking into this, and oh boy, I wish I had saved it. I went to the City of Calgary website, and it talked about how they were rolling out smart water meters, but that they would be optional. And about 3 weeks later, when I went back to that same page on the City of Calgary website, it had changed to mandatory and no explanation. So I would also encourage people to go to their town website and see what it has to say.
Great. Thank you. There's another question here. Is Alberta planning to have smart meters installed for electricity too? And there's some background that I would like to say to go along with it. Some people moved to Alberta from BC because of the smart meters in BC. And she tells a story. My husband had 2 strokes within 2 weeks of radio off smart meter installed. And she experienced cognitive and memory dysfunction, and they had to pay a couple $1,000s to mitigate, and it wasn't perfect. Meanwhile, they suffered. A couple of years later, they did an upgrade, and once again, they suffered, and it took them 3 weeks to get them to undo the upgrade. Do you have any thoughts or comments about that?
Alberta, they're rolling them out throughout Alberta as well. I think the only difference is maybe we've got a premier here that listens to us a little better than EB does, but they are definitely being rolled out. And it is my understanding that as soon as they're done rolling out smart meters for water, it'll be electricity next. So this is something that if we have a chance of winning, of stopping this, we need to start now. It'll be easier to stop before they get started than it will if they've already got half the meters installed.
Thank you. Tara asked a question and then has some comments, a couple, so bear with me while I read this. First of all, thank you, Laura, for talking about this important topic. She had a meeting with her city councillor, and her rebuttal when she talked about the privacy, health, and safety issues that people were erroneously charged for water leakages of up to $1,000. How would you rebut that? Also, the councillor talked about admin fees going up for these non-standard meter fees, opt-out fees. It's a hard question, but she's paying $49 a month with a $350 deposit for not getting a smart meter. How do we stop these extortion fees?
Well, first of all, I'd like to know who got stuck with $1,000 bill because they had a leaky toilet. That sounds like this council person is pulling numbers out of thin air. I don't know what the answer to that is. I guess it depends on how willing the municipal government is to listen, how willing they are to listen or to read information. Finding the information isn't all that difficult. Getting them to look at it seems to be the problem. Getting them to read it and accept it as actual information. Most of them have been brainwashed into believing anything that comes out of, what is it, the FMC, the federal municipal, this organization that all mayors and council people belong to across Canada, being run, of course, by the WEF. So I don't know what the answer to that is. I'm sorry, did she say where she lives?
It's Tara, so no, she didn't. I don't know if it's BC or Alberta.
Okay. Well, it's happening in every province.
Okay, fabulous. I mean, not fabulous. Sorry,
No, I
bad
don't.
word. Thank you. Uh, Another question, do you know if Faraday cages put around smart meters might be effective? And do you have any information about this?
I don't know if they're effective. They are one of the solutions that you can find if you look. Uh, I don't know. That's just it. That's my fear here this evening is that I give advice that is not true. I haven't come across anything yet that I am willing to invest in to put on a smart meter on my home. Now, I'm in a little different situation though. My smart meter sits on a wall next to 8 or 10 others. So in order to protect myself in a townhouse center, I've got to put something around all those meters and then go to the other end of the building and put them on all the ones down there too. If you're only concerned about the one on your house and you've got the resources, I'd say it's worth a try. It's worth a try.
Thank you. There's another question. How do we know how to buy a good RF meter? Are some better than others? Is there such a good thing as a good RF meter?
I guess it depends on who you listen to. I saw a video clip of somebody that had one and was talking to the installer who said, oh, yeah, no, that's not a professional one. That doesn't give you an accurate reading. I would say if you're going to spend the money on one, don't go for the cheap end of the scale. In terms of my own personal knowledge, I'm not willing to recommend anything because I don't know.
Thank you. Another question, have you or has the woman in Olds tried EMF-X Electra Phi stickers developed by Carrie Smith of Vancouver for smart meters? She has one on her electrical panel, and she's in an apartment. And they work by transmuting vertical negative green or electric waves to horizontal negative green or magnetic. They use the principles of biogeometry.
I don't know. I don't think the lady in Olds has any knowledge of that at all.
Okay.
And she just had her water turned back on without a smart meter on February the 26th, so she probably doesn't need one now.
Exactly.
Um,
Yay! Yay, they turned her water on. Wow.
two Alberta families, two separate cases, two separate judges came down with the ruling that the municipality had to turn these families' water back on. So there are some judges out there that are not bought and paid for, shall I say.
Another question, what are RF meters?
My understanding is that they're a small handheld device that you can use to measure the radiation coming off your smart meter. And they're available on Amazon. I've seen them, but I am not willing to recommend one. Again, I would say choose one that's a little higher price than the cheap stuff, but you should. You might even be able to walk into Home Depot and find what you're looking for.
Thank you. Okay, Dale Ann, we're not taking comments, but it's related to your shift. If you could keep it brief, that would be great.
So this is my RF meter. It measures several things. RF is only one of the things that it measures, and this is like just under $200. So I use this because I'm not a professional. I don't know exactly, it's not important to me to have the exact numbers, but this helps me know where the hotspots are. So this is called a tri-field meter, and you can get these from, I think it's Safe Living Technologies. They're in Guelph. And
Okay.
I'm the one who said something about the EMFX stickers, and I will reach out to you, Laura.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Dale
Thank you.
Ann.
Thank you.
And Deborah's question is next. And there's a question and then some background. So, do you agree that we have control with our personal devices? They don't with these. We wrote letters and NOLs to fight back on these. Cal Washington has an NOL to fight the smart meter. We talked about that. Once the smart meters are installed, we cannot interfere with them in any way. In Burlington, we are fighting back on these. Our personal experience has been successful now. However, we are only renters here. All notices sent on these need to be answered with counter offers before 10 days or you've given consent. So that's a little bit of a summary of what Christine was saying as well. But do you agree that we have control of our personal devices is the question, Laura?
5 years ago, I would have said absolutely. But if you consider your cell phone to be a personal device, I don't believe I have any control over this at all anymore. It listens to every conversation I have.
Exactly.
It feeds my conversations into social media. It sends me spam. No, I don't believe we have any control over our personal devices at all anymore. But I guess it depends on what you mean by control.
Indeed. Funny enough, I think we've come to the end of our questions that I have seen. If I've missed one, if somebody could just re-put it in the chat, that would be great. But wow, such great information. Thank you, Laura. And I will pass you back over to Karen.
Yes. Thank you, Esther. Great questions, everyone.
Can I say something, please,
Oh, yes.
about the EMF? For the smart water meter, I bought a cage, Faraday cage. They were like two ones that you can put together for the Wi-Fi, right? But I could not put it in there, so I just covered the Wi-Fi with it, and I put the other half over the smart water meter. And the readings are much lower because those two are in my basement. So I covered them from the top and I am up there. So it is much lower. It was like 40, 50. The readings were sometimes even higher than the whole meter. I have exactly the same meter as the lady was showing. And it is like 3.5, 4.5. That is still high. I would rather to see it lower, but it's much better than it used to be.
Where did you find those Faraday cages, Ursula?
Let me see. It was EMF Protection Company. They have also many different things. They have clothing, they have.
That's useful information. I think I know what everybody on my Santa Claus list is getting for Christmas this year.
Exactly right. Thank you.
So I'm happy. Finally, I can sleep.
Very good.
Thank you.
Deborah, I apologize. You had something to share in regards to an experience you had.
Yes, we received these brochures, fancy brochures, enticing people to put these water meters on our house. They needed access to our house in order to install them. And we started writing letters to, we got a hold of who is in charge of the company. And the first thing we said was that we did not contract with this third party water meter company to install these water meters on our property. We contracted with the water company. We're paying our bill to, Burlington Waterworks. So that was the first thing we said. And then we started explaining that we're not opposed to it, but we want to make sure it's safe for humans and biological life. And also, we'd like to know the data that you have on the effect of our water with these meters. So that's how we started. And with letters going back and forth, and they were saying, just like the lady said just now on the call, she said that well, you have microwave ovens and you have all these things in your house that it doesn't emit any more radiation than that, and we know they're safe because Health Canada told us so. So then we wrote back and we said, that's fine. We're not opposed to it, but please send us the data so that we know that we have the data and that we can make our decision from there. So they finally wrote a letter to my housemate who's paying she's the one on the lease. And she basically they said, well, when you decide that you want this, we will. So basically they're leaving us alone. So then shortly after that, there was a huge meeting in Burlington here with all the homeowners, because now they want to put smart meters in everybody's homes. And what we learned from that was that there were specialists there, and they told us the effect of all this on us and how it's going to affect us when they put them in. And the one thing that was very clear in that meeting was, once these people have these installed in their houses and they deface them, some people are going out and they're ripping them out and they're doing all this stuff, and people are getting huge fines. Well, once you do that, once they're installed, you can't fight it, because once they've done that, you've given them consent. So they can fine you whatever they want. They can do what horrible things to you. They can cut off your water. But if you fight it like you're supposed to fight it, like from the standpoint of contractual, because you are in commerce with this, so that you have to respond to their notices, and you have to give them a reason. You have to say, well, I'm not opposed to it, but please, you have to prove that unless it's safe, we can't have this in our house, right? So anyway, there's huge petitions going on, and there's all this stuff happening here in my community. So just so people don't do anything, like even putting a Faraday cage around a smart meter could be dangerous, because they could cut off your power and they could cut off your water. But because they've already installed it, and you're kind of defacing government property because it doesn't no longer belong to you. But we never gave them permission to come inside the house. And that is key. If they need to enter your house to do any work in your house, to put in meters on your water, you don't give them access to your house. You can refuse access to your house, but you do it by commerce. You have to do it by writing about that's the one thing I know for sure, just like NOLs are done. But NOLs are not really a commercial thing. They're done through more of a spiritual thing. It's more for people in sovereign life, because it's more of a humanitarian thing. Like, power is a right, and so is water. Water is our human right, and they can't really cut it off. But when we're in commerce, they can do whatever they want. So that's all I wanted to say. I don't want anybody to get into trouble here and do the wrong thing, but really do your research and link with groups that are doing this as a community, because it's really important to get the proper information, because people are getting more, like me, I get really emotional about it because it is kind of a violation of my space, and I see it all around me. But anyway, that's all I wanted to say.
Great information. Appreciate it. Thank you. Susan, yes.
I have a lot of information for you.
I knew you would.
SMART stands for Secret Military Arsenal Residential Technology. They put them on our homes in Ontario without our consent in 2010. They did it in secret through hydro. And they put them on and said that we could not have them removed. I noticed, number one, all our bills were going up, the cost of our bills. What it does is it sends in signals all through your home and gets all this information, and it's spying on you. It's spy material, and then takes it back, but it puts up your bill. My daughter, her bedroom was right, to her foot of her bed was, the meter was there. She ended up with cervical cancer. I also had sensitivities to it, but I couldn't figure out how. I'd been writing them, I've been fighting them and battling from the day they put it on there, because I'm sensitive to frequencies, radio frequencies. I made a block with a bunch of pennies, copper pennies, put them all pasted on, put it up against the wall, and that seemed to block it a little bit. But I finally found out that all you had to do was go to your doctor and get a letter from the doctor and send it to them that says this patient is sensitive to radio frequencies. That's what they are. And they came over the next day and removed it. So that's something to remember. You might want to use that. But the key is not to get it on your home in the first place. This was done in 2010 in Ontario. That, and then these 5G towers, even worse. That's what caused my, it was the 5G that caused my heart attack. And it was a massive coronary. They said I was a miracle, as you mentioned at the beginning. The frequencies from that is even worse. And they put a 5G tower 1,000 meters from our home. I used to have a kitchen full of all these, it was a jungle of plants. People call it jungle. It had jade trees and all kinds of tropical plants there. Big kitchen. And within 2 months of them putting it up in 2023, all the plants died. Everything died. Everything. It's killing the trees all around here. I've got lots of trees. I live in a wooded area, and it's killing the trees. It's killing everything. These 5G are intended to kill every one of us. That's the intent, part of the warfare against humanity, all of it. So if you can get rid of any of it, in whatever way, this needs to be fought, and we need to win this battle. And I know I came back for this reason, is to warn everybody.
Yes, you did, Susan. Thank you.
That's why I'm here. So, it's ironic that you would hold this meeting tonight.
Synchronicity, love it.
Yes. Anyway, just anything you can do to fight it, you need to fight it. Everybody needs to fight it. Say, I do not consent. That is our key, is I do not consent. Don't say I do not comply. They got that word in there. It's pliable. So that's how they sneak in. Words are important, and words have power. Use your words of power. I do not consent. And the other thing to remember is that love is the thing that wards them off. That's the light.
Thank you. Thank you for reminding us of that, Susan. Thank you.
Yes.
Appreciate it. And that leads me into what I was going to say is we really need to let go of the word fight. The word fight is not going to get us anywhere at all. It's just going to create more negative energy coming back at us. Again, our power is above the line. Our power is in remembering our sovereignty. And remember, truth is always calm. And if we have an emotional attachment to things, it doesn't move the reality that we are seeking to create forward. So this is really important for all of us to remember. And one question I have for everyone here is, what is more powerful? a man-made product or a human being made in the image of the Creator? Man-made product, human being in the image of the Creator. I think we have forgotten our true power, that we are a trillion times more powerful than any man-made thing. And we need to remember that as we move forward. Always remember that you are the power, and they know that you are the power. And that's why they're getting away with so much, because most of humanity has forgotten who they truly are. And that's the work that I'm here to offer in Life Force Nation, is to remind us of our true inherent power that we have been given. And we're here to activate that power because they know. Another question for you: where does electricity come from? Electricity is in the environment. Yes, it's also every human being is a electric battery. You are the electricity that they are attempting to loosh. Well, they are. So we just need to learn our power, to learn how to use our energy field and to shield our field. That's what we're here to do. And that's what I'm teaching at Ascend. Thank you, Karen, for putting that in the chat. At the Ascend, April 10th to the 12th, we really need to awaken to our full potential now. There's no more excuses, in the time that is going by is allowing them to get away with murder. And that's exactly what they're doing, because most of humanity has no idea who they are. And we need to truly peel away everything of who you're not so that you can rise up and be the glory, the light, the brilliance that you are, because they have no power. As Susan said, when you are embodied, the embodiment of love, the demons run. And their technology cannot affect you whatsoever. 100%. It is self-mastery. And again, that's what sovereignty here is all about. Sovereignty is self-responsibility, and it's us learning and remembering who we truly are. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I really appreciate you, all of you. We're all at different levels of consciousness and different levels of awareness, and everything needs to be expressed so that we can let go of any limited story. That story is not working for me anymore. I'm rising up into a new level of awareness and perspective, and letting go of all the perceptions, because they want us to stay stuck in the world of perception, in the world of assumption. And it's really, again, about standing our ground, standing and speaking our truth. For all of our private members tomorrow night, we're going to have a really amazing session. Erin is going to be leading how to overcome your fear of the court. And she's going to be giving us an amazing guided visualization for that too. So it's going to be really, really powerful. Thank you, Laura, for all you do. We so appreciate you. Yay. Exactly.
Thank
Chris,
you.
thank you. And Laura, did you have any final words you wanted to share?
No, I think everything's been said here this evening. I agree to take the word fight out of our vocabulary, but what should we replace it with? To put more effort into turning the tide?
Yes, 100%. Inspired action. We all need to take action.
And in truth.
We have
Yes.
people here this evening from all over Western Canada, I would be willing to bet. So show up at your next municipal meeting and make yourself be known. Remind our municipal governments that they work for us.
Absolutely. We need to take our power back. 100%.
Yeah.
Russ, you have a question?
Yeah, I went through this water meter about 2018, and it may work for some people, but I threatened to I told them I was gonna get a well if they shut my water off, and the municipality went nuts when I did that, and I never heard from them again. So I never did get that water meter installed.
Yes.
I just told them, I'm putting a well in, and the next day it goes off, and I'm putting a well in, and that was the end of it. He went nuts saying, well, what about the sewage? Well, that's your problem. Then you half your bill is sewage, right?
Right.
And they didn't want any part of that. Well, I was going to do it. It wasn't just an idle threat. I was going to do it.
Right.
Well, that's what septic tanks are for.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's right. But I wouldn't need it. I could use the town sewage.
Brilliant. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Love it. We just need to find the workarounds. We need to find the other options that are totally always available. There are no problems in life, everyone. There's only solutions. Thank you, Christine, for being here as well and sharing your truth. We really appreciate you. And Karen, Hannah, thank you very much. Esther, grateful. Together we rise, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Karen.
Great session.
You all the brave
Thank you so much.
women and men.
Thanks
Yeah.
all.
Thank
everyone.
you.
Nice
That was
to see
good.
you.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Bye.
Blessings.
Thank you.